UnTrending truth about.
Welcome to the UnTrending Truth, a show about not so popular and unconventional topics being discussed. And today we have.
Carolyn Parker.
All right, perfect. Welcome back, Carolyn Parker.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. This is our fifth taping. And so far, well, Karen, please just tell us why you're here, why we're all here. Also, you can do the recap, I can do the recap, but we are up to 18, right? Years old?
Yes.
Okay.
18.
And
yes.
You do your disclaimer. Karen does a disclaimer every show. Mine is below.
Yes, my disclaimer is that this is my story. There is no right or wrong way to tell it. I just want to tell it like it is.
Yeah, and that's all you can do. Okay, so with the recap, we did from kindergarten to like fourth grade. Fourth grade, there was a cliffhanger. You guys will have to go back and catch. I think we talk about in a couple of videos. And then fourth grade to about seventh grade. Yeah.
Yes.
The
yes.
What is it? Foot on the coat.
Foot on the coat.
Foot on the coat moment. Uh, yeah, and then eighth grade to about 12th. Yeah. And then 12th.
Went all the way up to 12th grade.
Yeah. And then
high school, switching schools.
Yep. And then now we are kind of still after high school military, where we have been on 18 pretty much for the last show, correct? The
Yes,
last two
correct.
shows, last show. Yeah. Okay. So you gave a disclaimer. We can go right into it
Yes.
because it's a lot of information. Basically, Karen, and tell us why we're here. Give them a recap on that.
We are here because I am sharing my testimony with you about how I was delivered out of homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in hopes that someone will be delivered or even help you, and you will understand what deliverance is after you see this.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so let's get right to it. We don't want to waste time. We want to try to stay within our perimeters. So, 18, you. Oh, okay, wait. That was the cliffhanger last time. I was thinking, like, wait, it was something that wasn't mentioned the whole last show. You were married. You were married. Your husband was 17.
Yes, he was 17.
And you were 18.
Yes, 18 years
And
old. Yeah,
basically, you
very
guys were
young.
being 17 and 18 and you were pregnant, or you had the baby
Yes, I had the baby. Yes.
on the
Um,
way back to Portland. Something happened on the plane, so you were trying to inform parents or young people, about babies and plane rides. Um, and then you guys landed back in Portland, Oregon, and
yes.
ended up staying with his mom or a family.
Yeah, it was his mom and his stepfather. We stayed there for about 2 months,
Mhm.
actually. And then after that, we ended up staying with my parents, you know.
Oh,
Um, we stayed,
oh,
yeah,
I
yes.
remember.
Yeah, so we stayed there with them for approximately the same time, about 2 months.
Seemed like it was
And
longer than that.
it seemed like it was longer than that.
Hmm.
But I want to say if it wasn't longer, I know we left, and I think at some point, of course, the baby, I won't say her name, she
Hmm.
stayed with you guys for a
Hmm.
while
Oh,
after the
oh, maybe
fact.
that's why.
But after, yeah, so after moving out, um, ended up going to another location, I want to say, because I remember we were in the process of looking for work, trying to find jobs, and basically I ended up finding a job
Hmm.
and I ended up working at Wendy's.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
gonna say.
yeah, and it almost was, I felt like because I got a job first, then his job stopped. He stopped looking for work and pretty much he didn't work at the time. So I ended up working at Wendy's, going to work. And during this time, keep in mind, like I said, we didn't have a place of our own. So what you do remember is right. Um, the baby did stay with you guys for a while because I
Yeah.
remember I used to go to work every single day, get off, come from Wendy's, come to my parents' house,
Hmm.
spend time with my daughter, and then I would go, and this is all walking, mind you.
That's what
And
I
then
was gonna say. Like, did you have a Datsun or like yellow car or something back then? But no, you were younger. Yeah.
no, not at the time. It was, yeah, not at the time. All of it was walking. So I would walk, and of course, people don't know the distance if they don't live in Portland. But literally, I would probably walk over, um, I want to say more than 20 miles,
Hmm.
going back from work, going to my
Sure.
parents, and going back to one of the destinations where I stayed.
Now,
This
were
was
you guys? Didn't you guys stay like on the next block before?
on, I'm sorry, we
Did you
got
guys stay on like?
disconnected a little
Did you
bit.
guys stay on the next block behind us or in front of us before? Did you stay in the
Yeah, the
neighborhood?
one, yeah, before that, that was his parents or his mom and his stepfather. They stayed on the
His
other block.
stepfather was Bob. Oh,
Oh, now you're thinking about a neighbor,
oh, okay, okay, okay.
right?
That's why I'm. Then
You're thinking about a neighbor
so
that was
you guys didn't
really
stay. I shouldn't have said
significant.
his name, but I'm glad it wasn't his stepdad. Um, but didn't you guys stay with him? Hmm.
um, he stayed with him.
Mm,
We stayed, and the only reason that we stayed there, I didn't stay there per se, but that's where he, I guess you would say, presided or
mm,
resided.
yeah.
And
Weren't you guys
I would
married?
go over there to visit at times.
You guys just young
Yeah,
married teenagers?
we was married. Yes,
Yeah.
young married teenagers. Yeah, remember, 17 and 18, we were married, and then we came back to Oregon. I was 19 then because I had my daughter at 19. So yeah, we were married. So um, living in different places, trying to find a secure place to live, I guess. And
Mm.
it was sort of
With no
hard if one, you're young, yeah, and we wasn't working steady jobs at the time until I landed a job at Wendy's. So it
money.
was difficult trying to find somewhere to live, and
Well,
after, oh, I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say, well, what now that you think back, like what could you see in yourself or what was missing or what even made you how'd you end up with him? How'd you know what I'm saying? Like have you
Yeah,
connected
I mean,
those
I
dots?
understand. Yeah, the words is hard to come out because how do you end up getting married at 17 and 18 is something that is really something to ponder, but
I would think escaping or
uh
pregnant or
no
culture.
self-worth, no self-esteem.
Yeah.
Pregnant, pregnant is one way that I ended up married also because the biggest thing, especially being in North Carolina at the time when I was pregnant and was letting my family members know that I was pregnant, my biggest thing was I didn't want to embarrass my parents actually and come back to Portland and be not married. And so one of the things for me is I feel like I just wanted to be married because I didn't want to be a single mom, so to say, and fit that mold of
I think
being
how
a,
many people do that.
yeah. And if you really are not ready to get married, and if you really don't really, I want to say like the person, but you just with somebody just to be with them,
Mhm.
you sort of just try to make something work. And it really doesn't work. So, you have a lot of stress, you have a lot of tension. You got two kids trying to raise a kid.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's too, and then it depends on the kids that you are, even at 17, 18, any of us at those ages, especially when you do something so serious as marriage, it depends on what unhealed childhood traumas or issues, or even if you were too spoiled and get with somebody who's not working, or you know what I mean? It's like all these things that we are not equipped, let alone mature enough
not
to
equipped.
handle. Yeah. And psychologically, I mean, your brains weren't even done being developed.
Yeah, think about it. Then you have a little baby, you know,
Being
and
raised
then the
by five
stress.
and 6 years olds,
Yeah,
being raised
right.
by the bully little girl. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or a fourth 9 year old. I'm just saying, you know?
Yeah, and it's something to really think about. But um, it's just so much stress for to be so young, and then not only thinking about it, coming back, and then you have to try to look for work. And then the thing was with me was in the army, I was in there for dental. So when I came back out here, they call it the civilian life.
Mm.
Coming back, I went to try to find a job in that type of field that I was in. And I remember going downtown, and I remember that I wanted to go look for a dental hygienist or dental assistant job. So going downtown Portland, Oregon at 18 years old by yourself,
And what you have,
and
what were you wearing?
I
Looking
I don't
for
even
work.
remember.
I'm just
Only
saying,
God knows my wardrobe back then.
some skinny little
And
bell
you go to an office,
bottom.
you go into an office that's predominantly white.
Well, that's just
So,
Portland, period. But even then,
but
still could have been professional, or I couldn't even imagine.
I was professional as I thought I probably could be at the
Yeah,
time. But it was like going in with the experience that I had only from the army, the military.
yeah.
And when I did a pretty good interview, but when I got the call back, they said, "Oh, we took somebody else with a little bit more experience than you,"
I'm saying,
and that just shut me totally down. That was the first and the last time I actually went back out to look for that particular type of work, and it
yeah,
just
because
shut me
yeah,
down.
yeah,
And I didn't have any more confidence to go back after that. So that's why I ended up looking for the fast foods and the
slow
jobs that was
subsidy,
like minimal. Yeah, that's real,
attainable.
and that's what I did. And when I did end up working at or got a call back from Wendy's, and at the time I didn't know who it was because I had so many applications in, I was like, well, I'm sorry, can you tell me who you are? Because I put in so many applications, I don't even know who you are. And they said they were Wendy's, so I came in for an interview and I got hired on the spot. So, but yeah, so I worked that job. Like I said, I was a
I
mom. I
remember
had to do something.
we used to come see you
Yeah.
to the
Oh,
drive.
yeah. So
I know.
the drive through. And
Yeah.
being so young, you try to take care of family and going through
Well, I
drive.
mean, it's whatever. It's a lot of stuff is in your head. So even the defeatist or not, not like you fall back down and get back up, and rejection is part of the game and all that. You weren't thinking that way. You were defeated, and so you went to Wendy's, but you still even
Hmm.
in North Carolina, you have these, especially coming from the way you were raised, these ideas of
Mm.
being married, ideas of what it was like to adult. You know what I mean? And you didn't,
Right.
you didn't have any money. You know what I mean? Thank God things were
No.
cheap back then, but like you didn't know. You were just going off of
Mm.
ideas. Then you had too much pride to ask or almost receive information. You know what I mean? So you just
Yeah,
really had to learn the hard way. Because I was gonna say you
I
didn't even
learned
have
the
to
hard
live
way.
like that. But yeah,
Yeah. And as I say, a hard head make a soft behind, you
yeah.
know. And But I mean, it was a quite an experience. Like I said, working at Wendy's, going through that, trying to be grown up, and ultimately, what happened, like we ended up like getting our own place.
Mm,
We end up getting a place off of, if any streets make any sense to anybody, off of 14th and Prescott area in Portland, Oregon.
mm,
And we lived in a little house behind the house.
mm.
So it was almost like, now I think back, now it's like those little houses that people
It
making,
was
they're
a
making
tiny
now.
house. It was cute though.
Yeah, it's like a tiny house,
It was really cute.
but yeah, so you remember that.
It
But
was
you
behind,
know,
well, yeah, the lady that we knew. No,
yeah,
no names.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that was like, that sort of gave me an adult feeling, growing up type
Mhm.
feeling, like, okay, getting your own place, and
Yeah, it was cozy
going,
too.
yeah, going to work, and whatnot. But even still, when you do all that, you still, if you don't, like I said before, you don't change the inside, your attitudes, if they're negative, or you don't do any of that soul searching, then you're going to be the same person regardless.
You are.
So
Yeah.
my thing was, I was trying to be, I felt like a good wife, trying to do what I have to do. You go to work, you clean house, you cook, you do all those things you do.
Mhm.
And I guess it wasn't good enough, because we, after a certain point, he was always gone. Like I said, I would be the one working. A few things that stick out in my head at this point was, one, living at this house, I would always go to work. And by this time, my daughter, she was like, what, like, not one, but she was still in a crib. I
Mhm.
remember always coming home and getting to the door. She would always be in the crib. She would have a number two on her, and he would
Mm.
never be there. And he would always leave her by herself.
Mm.
And I would get home and wait to see if he was going to come in. Like, oh, did he just run? Did he just, go out the door, dump out the garbage in the back or something? And I would just wait, and he would never come back.
Mm.
And then he would always tell me, "Oh, I saw you coming. So when I saw you coming, then I left." And I never
Mm.
believed that. So that was one thing
What do
that
you think
stuck in
that
my,
was about?
um just Alf doing his own thing.
Just
I
leaving a
just always
baby?
felt, and another thing, I felt like, because honestly, I just felt like, because he felt like that wasn't his child,
Yeah.
that he
'Cause that's,
treated her a certain way.
yeah.
And that always hurt when I would come home from work and find that. So that was always something that I had to just deal with. Another thing too, um, being there in that particular house, um, it was a cute house, and you remember Cozy, right? That's a question to you. You remember Cozy, right?
A dog?
Oh, you didn't hear me?
Uh-uh.
Oh, you must be. It's pro. Oh, okay. You remember the house being cozy?
Oh, cozy. Yeah, did it had mice, right?
You remember that? Yes. The
Yeah.
house was in, the house was infested with
It was
mice, and I'm
so
telling you,
little.
literally,
I
but
was starting to
literally,
itch.
mm,
Oh, I know, right?
literally, one day I was laying down, just laying, like on some chairs, because at the time I didn't have, I don't think I had a bed at that moment, so I had put
Why?
a few chairs together, looking, and it was so many mice. It looked like they were playing a baseball game. They were like running back and forth, like they were going to running the
Yeah.
base, the base, the
Wow.
base, the base. If you can imagine that, and it was like, oh my gosh.
God.
Um, I
It
remember
was a
one time when we
baby.
did get a bed with a baby. Well, she was in the crib, but when we did get a bed, I
Uh,
remember a mouse running up my bed and all the way up. And I don't know
mm,
where. I guess it went out the other side, but
mm,
stuff like that. It's like,
I know.
yeah. Um,
Well,
on
I guess you
another
appreciate.
thing I remember at that particular house was, go
Hmm?
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I guess you appreciate.
Oh, I must have missed you. I think it glitched.
Yeah, no, I say you must appreciate, life. at a certain point in time
Mm.
going through stuff like that.
Yeah. Another incident that I remember that one time he came home. I guess he was drinking on something, and I was in the bed. It was late, and I remember he came in, and I was laying down, and he came, and you know how you sort of straddle somebody
Mm-hmm.
on their stomach, and I don't like being confined,
Yeah.
and me being confined, it makes me panic. So he knew that. So I figured he was gonna try to hurt me. So I was like, well, instead of him hurting me, I'm gonna hurt myself to get his attention. And I remember just taking my hand and just throwing it through a glass window. And I
Seriously?
remember cutting my hand.
What do you
I'm
think
sorry.
that was about?
On my part or his part?
On the person who threw their hand through a glass windows part.
On my on my part, it was because when he was on something, I didn't know how he was going to react. He can get very violent.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like my life was in danger. So I felt like if I threw my hand through a glass window or whatever was there, which was a glass window, it would get his attention.
Hmm.
And it did. Because he was like, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "Well, you was gonna hurt me, so I figured I might as well just do it myself."
Wow.
So yeah, crazy things. Like I said, when you going through stuff, crazy thoughts. Do you think it makes sense at the time?
Wow.
But I remember it happened a couple times at while we were there at that particular house where I end
And
up
that's
getting
somebody else's
stitches in my
property.
hand. Right, right. And whatever the reasons I made for the reason why the window was broke, they end up fixing it twice. I remember that. So, but that's just crazy, a crazy incident, that that happened. And I just always felt like, well, if my life was in danger, then I might as well just do it myself since you're gonna do it. But it
Yeah.
jarred him enough. Yeah, it jarred him.
Okay, so that is
Um,
19 working. The story is just about young. How long were you married?
actually about 12 years.
Mm, really?
Yeah, about 12 years. I was separated about probably about 6 of those years at one point, but yeah, about 12 years. By the time I got divorced from him, I was about 12 years. Another thing too I didn't mention was this is a time also that a close friend of mine, a female, where she was a really good friend of mine, actually, where we went to high school together, and she saw a lot of this stuff going on, and she would always every day would bring me something to eat, and she would always give me money every single day.
Hmm.
And as for me, I was so caught up into all this stuff that was going on with my husband. I loved him at the time, I really did. And of course my daughter, trying to maintain her.
Mm,
But as my friend would like help me out, give me food, give me money, always being there, trying to, be a good friend. Her feelings started to develop for me.
mm-hmm.
And in a girlfriend type of way, I would say.
So her
I
feelings
didn't really
just started
respond
to
to it
develop
because
for you, or was she uh like that? Was she living the lifestyle already? Was like, what was her situation? Like how why was she giving you money and food? Not like that. She was just being a friend, or that was, or she was it like masculine energy? Like what was her story?
yeah. This is the same person that I had met in high school, where she was like a year younger than I was.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I remember her coming to an orientation at Jefferson High School at the
Oh, oh,
time,
oh.
and yeah, and she made a comment to me, which back then I really didn't understand, but I think then because I knew her sisters,
Mm-hmm.
so then she came that following year to that same school. So during this time where at the house and stuff, she's always give me money and give me food. It
Mm.
was just something that I think that in her, it was something that had developed way back then
Right.
when she met me then.
Well, I forgot
And
about that. Yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
that. So okay, so how long did that take? What, and like I said, what was, so it was she, in her it already started, and then in
Yes.
you, um it started just with uh the money and all that stuff. And then how'd you even know
Um, how did I even know
she
about
liked you, or it was changing, or anything?
just like you said about the masculine type energy? It was like an energy that was there. You pick up on, I guess, a friend just helping you in needs,
Right,
and and then always wanting to be there for you.
right.
And so like I said, I didn't really pick up on it because I was just so in on with my relationship with my husband and my
Or even
child.
naive
But
too.
very naive also, I have to admit, yes, very naive. But what I will say, because of all the stuff that I was going through with him, then I guess over time, and it is, I would say less than a year, my feelings started to change because she actually made a pass at me
Mm.
at one point in
Oh,
time, and that's how it was received by me at one
yeah,
point.
yeah,
And that's how that relationship sort of picked up and began. And
yeah.
honestly, that relationship started at 19
Mm-hmm.
and went all the way until I was, at least I wanted to say 27 at first, but I believe it was up until 25.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a long
yeah,
time.
it's a
And you
long
were
time.
married the whole time then.
I was married the whole time. Yeah, I mean, it was
So,
definitely got
did you
caused some
have other
conflict.
kids? Uh,
Yes.
you have four
Um.
kids. I don't say you had three, but it was three for so
Yeah.
long.
So
um,
yeah. So for during this time that I was in this relationship with this one young lady, I ended up having another daughter at 22 years old,
mm,
and then I ended up having my son when I was what, 25.
five. Jesus.
So yeah. So I
Mm,
yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
that time frame is when I know when I was in this relationship, because from 19 for my very first child all the way up until 25 having three children is when I know we were still, and we really got involved with each other
Yeah.
on a regular basis. You know, I never called her my girlfriend or anything like that, but we was all doing the acts of that. And the funny thing about it then, to be totally honest, I didn't know that was my very first experience,
Yeah.
so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, was no really no sexual stuff in there
Yeah.
because I didn't know anything about that.
But most people, I mean, not, how do you become experts at certain stuff anyway? Especially if it's before your time, or if you're not experienced. And that's like a lot of times when people are really experienced and stuff, that's especially young, that's
Hmm.
a lot, or something to
Yeah.
be visited. you know
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, how can you have that experience? So about 6 7 years, three kids, um married, all your kids are by the same dad. um
One is in question. Remember the very first one
mhm.
in question?
But still the other two by your husband.
Yes.
um and so with that, were you guys public? I mean, how does that work back then? And how did that work back then? Like,
No.
yeah,
Wasn't public at all in terms of relationship. What ultimately happened is I ended up moving with them because of some events that took place that led me up to living with their family, and that's another story that I would have to tell at some point because that is like a story that is a hair raiser, that how I ended up living with them. Um, Ultimately, my husband, we got in this big fight basically that led me to almost taking his life. If I had a gun, I would have shot him, you know. And I didn't have a gun. I had a box cutter, and I left some marks on him that he could definitely tell you about to this day. But it was just, enough was enough. And I ended up, they ended up, her mom and her ended up rescuing me in a park because I was stranded because of the situation. And I ended up at that point they came and got me. I ended up living with them. So um, from that point living with them, I was there, and that's when our relationship, you want to call it, started developing. It wasn't open to the point where, oh, that's her girlfriend. No, it was hush hush. Nobody knew about it. It was like we would do stuff just you know at night or whatever when people was gone. Nobody knew. We thought,
Mm.
but no, it wasn't nothing that was out because honestly, um, to say the least, also was in a relationship with somebody that was very close to her. I won't say that because it might
You
be
mean
too
somebody else?
controversial. Yeah, I was in a relationship with her, but somebody that was close to her, I also
But a
got
man.
involved, and it's a man.
Oh, okay.
And
But not
yeah,
your husband.
because I was dealing, not my husband, no,
And this
because
is
I was
all
dealing with
in,
low
this
self-esteem.
is all Portland.
This is all Portland.
Oh my gosh. It's so small. I'm just saying.
It's
It's a lot.
it's small. This
So
small.
small.
It was definitely a triangle, but like I said, when you don't have good feelings about yourself, low
Yeah.
self-esteem, and you get this fine man hitting on you. And I was 19, and I it was just like, oh man.
Yeah.
And he approached me, and one thing led to another, and it was pretty messy. It could have been if all the circles came together.
I think I remember.
But
Um,
yeah,
so for you, when you think back, what was it? Uh, what did cause you to what we know now and what I know now is not have any boundaries. But what was, like what was it for you? Like with being here, there, and like you said, I
just
guess not
loose,
having any esteem.
just being loose. Um, Being loose, but like, when you're tampered with, like you
Yeah.
said a while back, when you're early and those
Yeah.
those passions are released, and you get that feeling of, call it for what it is, a good, it feels good, you
Yeah.
know, it feels good and it's bad, but that's that contradicting, that conflicting feeling. But when
Yeah.
you get that from someone, and you want it from somebody that you're married to, or you're in love with, and you're not getting it, somebody else shows you that type of love or that type of lust or whatever you want to call it, you
Yeah.
sort of act on it. And you sort of, in my case, it was a man and women. And when
Mhm.
I say women, I don't say that in a loose sense, but
Yeah.
it was in my lifetime about three.
That's enough. I mean, not like
Yeah,
that, but that's
right. But
yeah.
about three altogether.
Yeah.
But when you have no self-esteem and you have no standards, you do whatever.
Yeah.
You do whatever.
It's just
And
so,
that's
I
how it
guess,
was for
it's so
me. I
many
just
things that happen behind the scenes, so many connections that people really don't know, or you never, know that people are living pretty much this double life, especially when you're with men and women, but they, one of them secret or whatever. So,
yes. Actually, two was secret. Two were secret because I was married to one, and the other two was like a secret.
yeah,
And then it was secret from each other, from the other two. So yeah, it was and when I talk to you right now, it sort of makes me like, oh yeah, that was what they call a triangle, but I didn't see stuff like that then.
yeah. Well, how could you? Not
Yeah.
like how could you, but like
it,
not how could you, but
yeah, you
how
don't put
could
those
you?
two
Like
and twos
what
together.
did you know? You were just doing
you
it.
know you like bisexual. If somebody said, right, if somebody said, are you bisexual, that would be like, bisexual, what's that? Well, the term is, you would sleep with men and women. Back then I didn't see that as that. I just did it. Yeah.
And now, what were your thoughts? Well, I can't say what were your thoughts back then. I can, but I don't know if you were thinking like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, not like you weren't thinking, but you weren't thinking. And that's I can't even think of a, not like a question, but it's like wow, because
Yeah.
really what really wants to come out is like, were you convicted, or like what were you thinking, did you have thoughts about yourself? How do, like, do you know that that you're out there, or you tired of it, or that's just how you live in, it's working
Yeah.
for you, you get money from everybody, like, is that how you feeling? Pretty, like, what is it?
It wasn't, was I convicted? I was always convicted. I always
Mm,
convicted from the time that I was, what, 19, and even was involved. I felt, it was really weird that you say it like that, because I was always felt more convicted of being with a woman than being with another man and a woman plus my husband. My convictions for me actually came because I was with a woman,
mm,
because I knew that that was totally wrong.
yeah,
So the other convictions is almost like they came and went, but
yeah,
the convictions with being with the woman was constantly every day. And this is something I told myself, and I remember saying this to myself every time I went to bed. And when I woke up, it was almost like, oh man, I made it. I'm alive. And it's like I got
mm,
another chance. I can do what I can do and go do it again. So imagine living like that every day. When you go to sleep, it's almost like when you wake up and you're just like, oh my God, I'm alive. I can go,
but
that's
do
how my
what do you mean, do, like, be in that life, or
be
have a chance to?
in the lifestyle. Yeah, the
Oh wow,
homosexuality lifestyle,
you
being
were
with the
glad to
woman.
wake up to be in it.
I would wake up with a conviction of
Oh,
every time I went to sleep, if I woke up, it was almost like, oh my God, I can do it again, basically. But
mm,
the conviction was always in me, like I knew this was wrong.
yeah.
I knew I was something I was not doing was right, wasn't right. But going to sleep every day and waking up was almost like, oh my God, I made it through. So it was almost a lie you would feed yourself to keep
Mm.
doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's, well, that's like denial, justification, you know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah,
um giving yourself permission, or
to
just,
keep on sinning,
yeah,
because
in
that's what it's
general.
called.
Yeah. So whatever word or title you want to put on it, that's, pretty much what it is. But like, even then, so what a secret life. I mean, that's like so much. But you and your husband at that, oh, you guys had just got into a fight. So you guys weren't really together like that. Or like, so when y'all, if it was some good drama like that, I know he was coming back sometimes or whatever. Did he know the family, or how was that?
Yeah, he actually did know the family, yes. And then he actually started speculating that me and this person was messing around. And
He picked up
so,
on it?
um, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
He
you.
picked up on that?
He picked up on it, yeah. Um, and he picked up on it, and it led to, like I said, him. I was going to an appointment one time, and he was with me, and he saw a hickey on my neck, and he just turned around and hauled off and hit me so hard that I was literally saw stars. When people say I saw stars, no, I saw stars for real.
Ouch.
Oh man! And it was right in the middle in public, and I remember this man was sitting in his car, and he just looked like, oh my God.
And
And
didn't say
I was,
anything.
yeah, and I was on my way to an appointment. And when I got into the appointment, I remember that he was sitting like in the lobby, and all I can remember thinking of, I got to get into my appointment and see if I can find a back door to get out here and just run. That's what I felt like. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So now that you think about it, back then, and you know how it is, and being dramatic or in drama filled relationships, do you think that you were giving off signals that something with y'all, or were you trying to hide it, or like your level of maturity, what do you think was going off? How did he know? You were talking about her too much, like what?
Um, Well, what he said he did, and now I sort of believe him now as I'm looking back, but he said, well, one, he knew where my bedroom was. So he said that they had this like this film stuff that they put on their windows for the winter time to keep the windows, keep it warm inside.
Mhm.
So he said that he took and he put a hole in one of those little windows and made a hole where he looked in the window and saw us together, is what he said.
Was it true? Did
I
you see
sort of
a hole
believe
in the
that.
window?
Yeah, I wanted to believe that because I did see like a little rip in the window, in the little window covering. So I honestly had to believe that because of how he reacted. So um, that exposed me. Then that was all my exposure. What else can I say after that? But after that point, I guess my attitude just started changing toward him. I really got tired of him because I started really wanting to be with her that way. So my feelings just started turning off. And because we wasn't living together, I didn't feel really obligated to him like that.
Yeah.
So I just started turning my energy into her.
And so does that mean that you were out, or was this more of a stronger, private, secret relationship?
Uh, I said, can you hear the bell?
Oh, that's 45 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We try to keep it like about 45 or not too
Okay.
long or whatever. Yeah. So but yeah, was it secret? It was private or what? It
You
sounds
said,
like
was it private?
it sounds like you said you want to break up with him or whatever, and you had stronger feelings for her, but was it stronger private, like behind the closed doors still? Or you
Um,
guys
af-
were
After a while, it started to come out where my attitude changed toward him. I just started feeling like, yuck, I don't want to be with him anyway, that type of thing. So I actually, after a while, I didn't really care, you know.
no, I'm
But
saying,
with
but was you
her,
yeah, with her, were your feelings although you wanted to be with her, were you behind closed doors? You had stronger feelings, but it
yes, with her,
still was always
yes,
private all
definitely
those years?
always private. Here's a funny
Wow.
thing about this relationship, though. Here's a funny thing about it because, yeah, I was always private. I never came out like, oh, this is my girlfriend and stuff
Wow.
like that. No, it was always behind the scenes because who her mom was and who her stepfather was. And then here's the thing. Our mom came up to me one day and said the Lord has showed her about this relationship between me and her.
She
And
confronted you?
that just scared the heck out of me. So I told her that I couldn't see her no more because of that.
Wow.
And I just sort of like dropped it off. Like she was like, "What?" So it just sort of tripped me out, and I just sort of ran from it after that.
So was that
Yeah.
the power of the Lord or the power of your
So
mother?
we um probably the power of both because because if I really didn't care about the power of the Lord or God, that conviction that I always had inside of me, it
Was it
wouldn't really
maybe
have
was it a
mattered
way out, I wonder?
for her
For you.
or for me and her.
For you to get
I
that
mean, at the
word
time, I really was into it.
into her.
Yeah, at the
No, that's
time,
what
I
I'm
really was
saying. So then,
into her.
when mom came to you, what maybe that was your way out, is what I was saying. Like saying that she said this and I have to stop. Maybe although you were into it, the
Oh,
convictions, and you know what I mean, like that was also a way out of something you liked, but you were convicted about.
I was convicted, but I'll be honest with you. The only thing that really made me come out because I feel like, oh man, my mom knows. Oh gosh, I
Oh,
just felt like, yeah, I just felt sort of strange and weird.
yeah.
So I only conviction at that point was that my mom knew, and I just felt sort of strange, and so I was like, no,
So, like when they confronted you or whatever, you just say, "Yeah, okay, you're right," to both of them, your ex-husband and your mother. Did you say like you confessed?
Pretty, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because when he said that about what he saw, I believe I went back that next night and saw what he was talking about. I did see a rip in there, and then I remember closing the curtains because before that, the curtains would be open,
Mm,
but then that film was so where you couldn't see in
you weren't
unless you had
supposed
like
to.
lights and you could see the yeah.
Yeah.
So when I saw that rip, yeah, I believed him.
Ah,
Yeah. So
scary.
yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that's
That
scary.
was crazy.
That's scary.
That was crazy.
Okay, so let's
So and
say
then
let's try to wrap it up or keep it. So we're at about we're going in between age 19-ish, starting at kind of recap, starting at 18. We did a whole show on 18. That's the last show, y'all. And
yes,
then right now we're kind of going 19 up to, you said 6 years, 27, 25,
about 25.
25. So about 5 years.
25. Really, the whole time was I was working. I was, trying to, like I said, remember I was living with them now at their house, and I was staying there for a while. And then after a while, my daughter was with you guys, so I asked her mom, was it possible that my daughter could stay there too? And they were like, sure.
Yeah, I
So
remember coming to visit her.
yeah, so when my
Yeah.
daughter moved over there with me, then I had my daughter and me living there. So I was complete because he had moved away, I believe, and was staying with other people and stuff like that. So I was feeling pretty good about it. And then, like I said, after a while, time went on. I decided that I wanted to get my own place
Yeah.
and ended up moving out. And if anybody's familiar with 51st, no, I'm sorry. We used to call them the Maranatha apartments because they stayed on like around 42nd and Killingsworth in
Hmm.
that area. And we stayed there. I had like a studio apartment back then. And
Hmm.
I remember all that time that I moved out, we still was messing around. And that was the time we
Oh,
messed around. Yeah, so we were still, me and her still was messing around up until that time. And then also after that location expired or ended, I ended up moving because I got my Section 8 voucher, and I ended up moving down the street to 51st and Killingsworth, and they had brand new townhomes going up, and that was in 1984.
hmm,
So, like I said, by this time I had my other daughter,
hmm.
and we were still messing around then. And this is like this
Really?
is my other. So yeah, because this is like in the
And
townhomes. I remember that.
I do
I'm
too.
sorry.
I s-
Yeah,
yeah. Wow.
yeah. So all the way up until 1984,
Mm.
and then that was the home that I was in. I was doing in-home daycare. Doing taking care of business. I wasn't with him any at this point.
In-home
Um,
daycare. Really? Did you have any
yes.
employees?
At one time and point, my little sister, she did help me. And she was a darn good worker too. Anybody
It
that's
was a
looking for a good
darn
worker,
great daycare.
put in your plug.
Wow. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. But yeah, thank you for that plug. But yeah, during this time, yeah, 1984, believe it or not, still messing around with her. So after
Mm.
this place went out and expired, and I say expired, it's time for me to move or whatever reasons I moved, ended up getting a house on 18th and Buffalo,
Mhm.
and this was 1992, and
Mm.
I was still doing in-home daycare. I just moved locations,
Yep.
and during this time, 1992,
Hmm.
um, I still this person was still coming back and forth in my life, and
Really?
things, yeah, only a few
God.
times though messed around, but by that time, everything had fizzled out in 1992. So it was just that, her son was coming to my daycare, and Yeah, and by that time, everything pretty much just fizzled out. So,
So the
like I
question,
said, it
but the question is, too, with relationships like that, or with your relationship, was it when you guys came together, or when it was a connection, was it sexual, or was it like, do you act like nothing happened, or is it like, what is that?
well, honestly, it wasn't too sexual in that way because I didn't know. I like I said, I didn't really do anything back then with
Even
that person
kissing
other
or
than
whatever.
kiss and well, kiss and stuff. But I mean, I didn't know anything else to do because I wasn't in that. How you say it? I didn't know that type of stuff that women
You're just
did with each
affectionate,
other. I guess. Yeah.
because you
So
could have learned.
it
I
wasn't
mean,
really
to be honest, I'm sure, or figured it out.
well,
If you
but it's
didn't know what to
but it still wasn't I guess it wasn't that type of relationship to that degree,
yeah,
but we did have a certain type of affection for each
yeah,
other. So but by 1992 it started to fizzle out because truly I started working at another job. I went out of in-home daycare
yeah,
and I started working for another organization.
right,
And you
right,
know what that organization was. And so during that time, I honestly, what's what I say? I didn't even think about women after that
yeah.
for
So was it,
for a
so
long
do
period of
you,
time.
so the question is too, is like, do you well, there's so many questions, Q&A questions that we already have building up. But I was gonna say, like, did you think you were born gay? Did you think you were gay? Because even when you in the military, you were saying you didn't. Yeah, was like, what
No,
was that about to you? Or
I
when
didn't
now
think
that
I
you think
no.
about
First of all, no, I didn't never think I was born gay. I knew I was a woman. I didn't think saying you born gay to me means you're saying God made a mistake. I didn't think God made a mistake in who He made me to be as a woman. But during that time, because I wasn't getting affections from the male that I wanted, um, and due to other things that happened in my life earlier, doing that the molestation and stuff like that, it just sort of just left me. I feel like open,
it?
and I just sort of just whatever came my way, I just
Mhm.
sort of relaxed in it, you know.
Yeah.
So I never saw myself gay back then
Hmm.
like that. No.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no.
Wow. And even after all those years,
After all those years, yeah. I was married. I had a child, you know,
or three,
um, or three, yeah, or three at by that time. So
by that time.
I never really put that I'm gay in one of those categories. I'm married, I'm a mother, and I'm gay. No, I didn't do that.
Well, I
I
guess
was
you
just
know what,
like,
it wasn't as,
okay, and
yeah. No, I was gonna say it wasn't as prevalent or like it is now. You know what I mean?
now,
So it
yeah,
was, and that's just instead of it being celebrated or whatever, that's just how you kind of live your life if you were, especially kind of in the Black community. But
yeah,
you find that all over, where people just have a secret life if they do have same sex relationships. It's just like this underground world. Forget about it. You live, but that's just, so today is different. But yeah, yeah, wow.
right, yeah. So
Okay. Um, wait, so
yeah,
it's so much. It's so much.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
then
if I
what,
didn't,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
You
No,
go.
if I didn't cut it down to the way I have even cut it down, I can just go on and on because I can just be like, oh yeah, oh remember, it's so much stuff that I can go back and just go back and just tell
Yeah.
that this testimony would be like forever
Yeah.
because it's so much
Yeah.
to go to, but you can't go through every detail. I would have to write a book.
Yeah. You might have to. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's how people end up writing books and having movies and
Yeah, because
different things happening because it's such a story, and there are so many details But just
Yeah.
think how you can cram something in however many pages or however many hours of
Oh,
so much content. Just because, like right now,
oh man.
trying to stay within the time frame,
Right. So
we're
yeah.
to,
So
I mean, at least we're in between 19 and 25.
25, we getting up there. Yeah, so just so you know,
We
because
are.
at the point where we are now, at the point we are now, at in 1992 is where we stopped, and I was still, by this time I had three children, and so at this point I went out of, like I said, my daycare. I'm in another business,
Mhm.
and that's where I am. And in that business, I know that from 92 to 94, I definitely wasn't thinking about women because that's how I ended up meeting my second husband.
Mm, really? Through that job? Well, maybe I don't even know what job you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So
When you talk about it more, maybe.
y-
Ugh.
yeah, because I can't really say the name of it,
Oh, well,
but
then that's really? Any, I
right.
don't know how. But
Well, yeah, we already mentioned it at one segment. So, but
well, no, I'm
it's
just
still
saying,
in the
even
child
with
care
your
industry. It's
second
still
husband
going.
and meeting him through that job, I didn't know that. Or maybe I
I
missed.
didn't meet him through the job, but I met him
Oh,
through some of the people that I was with when we were going out one night.
really?
Yes.
My goodness. You
Oh,
learn so much having conversations.
yeah.
Really?
So yeah, so that's why I say I know I wasn't into women then. Yeah,
No, I mean, you
it
had,
was.
it used to be a family member that's were like, you are not, you know, of that lifestyle
Oh,
completely. It's like you just,
yeah.
because yeah, you were. I mean, we stayed
Going
up
through a
all night to
phase. Well, it
watch
was a long
the
phase.
video. Remember?
The video.
I said we stayed up all night back in the day. You and I stayed up all night. I'm like you were into men and fine men and nice
Oh yeah.
teeth.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
the video.
definitely. Yes,
But
yes,
that's something I guess to visit, or even after the story, your testimony gets out. Something like I'm saying, like the questions are building up. With yeah. So
definitely,
hmm we'll
definitely.
kind of tackle that because I want your flow to keep going. I want you to have the nuggets added in, but still have it flow and get your message across, you know because
Yes.
it's a lot. It's so much. It is so much. And so are we going
Yes.
to end it right here?
Yes, we can end it. We can end it right here. We can stop at
24.
1992.
I was
Yes.
18.
So
I was 1892. So
18 in
mhm.
1992.
And so you were
Yeah.
about
So
32.
that should was about 32 or 33.
Okay.
I was going on 33 because I know I had, well, we don't want to go into it. I had
Right,
another
right, right,
child.
right.
So let's leave that for later.
Right. And I was doing
But
I just did the math with our age difference. That's all.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely. Okay,
Man.
so wow. I mean, and that's still with the ways to go, which is pretty cool, because it's interesting. Also, it shows you how much people can hide, how much people don't even know that they're in denial, or, you know what I mean? It's just how things can transpire. If you did have a
Mhm.
message, to parents, to the people, the public, or whatever, at this point in time in your testimony, and where you are in life, what would it be before we wrap it up?
It's always almost the same when it starts with knowing your children first of all, and when you don't feel good about yourself, you do so many things that you look back on and you sort of like regret. But as you know, there's gonna be a lot of lessons, learning things in the things that we do. But for me, I would just say that, if you take time and talk to, your children, it might would save a whole lot of heartache to where they are when they get older as adults. Because when you get older, you find out so many things that they went through
Mm,
when they were younger, and it's so disheartening and so sad. And then, you don't want, I mean, I guess you don't want to feel bad or guilty about what I should have, could have did
yeah,
to help them to when they got to this point. But I think a lot of things are just lost when we don't communicate
yeah,
with our children. And that's where it starts, because we didn't just get like this as grown-ups.
yeah,
So I say love them hard, and try to understand them, because everybody is different.
yeah,
Everybody.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
comparison doesn't work or whatever because it doesn't matter. Everybody has their own story, their
No.
needs, and at this point in time, for a lot of people, it's never too late. You know what I mean? But their children
Yeah.
aren't small or not moldable, but young like that
Long as
anymore. So it's really just a conversation about
yeah.
forgiveness or who,
Forgiveness.
yeah, who you were, where you are, or where you were in life, and that's the conversations that don't have to be missed either. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
what else can you do?
Yeah. Right. And if they're alive, it's never too late. As long as they're alive, you can
Yeah.
always go back to each other and
Hmm.
ask for that forgiveness and understanding, and
Yeah.
so that's what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my goodness. Yes. Thanks again for a nice, juicy episode. um, it's always interesting to hear your stories, your transparency. I shouldn't say I never know what's coming because some of the stuff I remember, some of the stuff I know or whatever, but I never know what you're actually going to share. You know what I mean? And so it's a great thing. It's
Yeah,
life changing. it's it's really food for the soul because it's
man.
so many people that are still living a secret life or still will never be this transparent or
Mm.
can't, they feel they can't be. Real quick, what's that about? When we or even you back then, you felt you just couldn't say, you couldn't do this, and when you were found out, it was what what like what compelled you, not even what compelled you, um what was that like when you um just couldn't say or you felt like you couldn't say? What do you think that was in you? Was it fear when you felt like you couldn't tell your mom, you couldn't be honest?
Yeah. Um, Fear of probably not feeling like I would be believed.
Mm,
And that was a sense of probably putting that on myself, because I know I could have probably told my mom and dad anything,
yeah.
but it was just probably the guilt
Mm,
of of when that person did that to me, been molesting me. It's like the guilt probably was because why did I enjoy it
mm,
in a way?
yeah.
And how weird is that?
Yeah.
So how do you tell somebody something when you sort of enjoyed it? So how do you tell them that?
So that's more that is shame.
Shame. Yeah.
Yeah, shame is
Shame.
big.
Something that somebody lured you to do that you was not expecting or not even knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
You came out feeling like, whoa, it's such a weird way.
Yeah. And like
So
I said
that's
before, it's that exposure. It's that
exposure,
it being
shame.
introduced to something like it shouldn't even be in your head. Like you should be
My
worried about
God.
neighborhood girls wanting to play with you. You know what I mean? Like
And
that
still play
was,
basketball
yeah,
for me.
it was just you were introduced to
You know.
something way before your time. and sex does feel good. That's why God created it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It
exactly. In the right way.
then in the right way.
Yeah.
So I know so much.
So
Okay.
that's what it is. That's what it was. It had to be shame because
Oh
it
yeah,
wasn't like, you know,
yeah.
yeah,
It's just
that's what it
yeah,
was.
yeah. Just wanted to hide and not be your authentic self, and be
Yeah,
vulnerable and be true. It is shame. Anyway, okay.
yeah,
Well, real
yeah.
quick, let's say a word of prayer. I always forget certain orders and all that stuff,
All right.
but we can just say a word of prayer real quick. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time once again. We thank you for our fifth show, which is pretty cool. Um, and just
Yes.
the way that her testimony is getting out and being broadcast, even if it's just she and I, just the story and the healing that's coming with it. Because I'm sure as she gets it out, as we take it in, as I take it in, it's just healing me and just allowing me to not have so much shame against myself. So we thank you for this
Mm,
time. We thank you for this
yes.
opportunity always. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah,
Amen.
amen. Thank you. And we will sign off and we will recap. There's information on the site up above and below, wherever, somewhere. It should be disclaimers and all that stuff. But we thank you. This is our fifth show. Thanks for staying. Thanks for deciding to, stay with us. And yeah, thank you, Karen. So we are out, you guys. I know, right? All right, take care. Bye, y'all.
Bye.